Boom! We are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Nolan Huck Anthony YouTube channel. And I thank all of you for being here, wherever you may be. And of course, however you may be listening. Right off the bat, guys, for the Nebraska fans that inevitably come across this video, I can only imagine, and I say this with all sincerity, not glibly, not in your facey, how brutal it has to be on the other side of this for a second year in a row. Because if you're a Nebraska fan, you can't help but think to yourself, for back to back years, they were the better football team for a large portion of the game, only to come up short, which in the end is what matters. The Iowa Hawkeyes, so I just wanted to say that right off the bat, okay? But be that as it may, I'm an Iowa Hawkeye fan, and I am absolutely going to revel in this victory while also being brutally honest, as I always am. With that said, Iowa won against Nebraska for the second year in a row, pretty much the exact same way. The only difference is this game was in Iowa City this year. Last year it was in Lincoln. Iowa wins 13-10 on a last second field goal after a huge defensive performance, defensive play from an Iowa D lineman. Man, these Iowa D linemen sure can play. Kelvin Bell has done a hell of a job with that position group. Last year, it was a stunt drop, Ethan Hurkett interception, and then Iowa gets the ball back. Nebraska was marching; they were in Iowa territory. Iowa then gets the ball, marches down the field. I talked about this in the game preview. Marches down the field. LaShawn Williams has a nice gainer, and of course, Iowa's backup kicker comes in and nailed it because Drew Stevens was having some confidence issues. Today, Max Llewellyn gets to the quarterback. I am very excited about his future. I think he has taken magnificent steps forward, and he is becoming the player that the recruiting services were so excited about with his frame and his athleticism. Now that he has fully grown into his body, when he came out of high school, he was extremely raw. And now he's a full grown man making plays out there. I can't wait to see what he's capable of next year. He gets a sack on Dylan Raiola. All of a sudden, we see him emerge with the ball. We think, can it be? It can't be. There's no way. And of course, it is. Drew Stevens nailed it, 53-yarder. Hawkeyes win 13-10. And it was good to see Drew Stevens. It just shows the maturation that he has had from last year to this year. Last year, he was still a solid kicker, but he took a step back from his freshman season. And towards the end of the year, he really was struggling with confidence issues. And here we are, a full year later, and he nails a 50. Well, maybe not nail. I mean, but given the game, the context of the game, it's a last second kick. It's cold. It's freezing. It's a night game. 53-yarder. I mean, he pretty much nailed it. Okay. I mean, was it like dead center in the middle? Of course not. But it was a tough kick. The only other kick that I can think of that has been like that in recent memory would be when Marshall Cohn nailed a long field goal. It may have even been, I don't know if it was a 60-yarder. I think, but it was a long field goal. It was so long that Pittsburgh's star receiver, Tyler Boyd, was lined up underneath the crossbars in case that it was a short kick. And of course, he hit it. Iowa goes on to have a perfect season. And that was a big one, too. This one, though, I think was a bigger one, though, because it's a rivalry game, it's a night game. Both of these two teams are playing for pride. There's a lot on the line. Not to take anything away from Marshall Cohen's kick. I mean, his was magnificent as well. I remember exactly where I was when that game happened. It was a great game. So wow. All right, let's review the stats here. It's not all good. I know a lot of Iowa fans are going to expect me to be super confident and optimistic and happy about this win. I am happy. I'm. It's better than being where Nebraska's at. Okay, I mean, let's just be honest. I would much rather Iowa be on this end than on the other end. But this is the game from last year, 13-10. Exact same score. Iowa goes 10-2, Nebraska 5-7, and then this is this year's. But this game was not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, and I do think that this game, unfortunately, is indicative in a lot of ways of Iowa football's season this year. The inconsistency, the inability to put away the games that they should. I mean, it's not inability. I mean, they have. I mean, all the games that Iowa has won except this game has been blowouts. And credit to Iowa for the second close game that they've had this year, dating back to the Iowa State game. They find a way to pull this out. But this game was a lot closer than it needed to be. And credit Nebraska for not sleeping on this game and giving it all they had. I don't love the consistent cowering, even though Iowa wins. It's hard for me not to like. It's bittersweet because it seems that Kirk Ferentz loves to kind of play this super reserved, super to the vest game against Nebraska. And this is how he loves to beat Nebraska. Now, credit to Nebraska, though. They did shut down Iowa's main strength, which was running the football. And that is definitely something that Iowa needs to improve on next year, which is the passing game. They need to improve on it ASAP. Let's look at the game stats here. As you guys can see, Nebraska was up 10-0. Not a ton, but still in a game like this, comparatively, it's similar to other teams 20-0. Although Iowa has been scoring points much more efficiently this year and consistently. Let's look at the player stats. Dylan Raiola, 22 of 32, 190 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 INTs. And when it mattered most, the former five-star could not get it done. Was it on him? Was it on his offensive line? I think it was mostly on him for not getting rid of the football and or just tucking it and being done and living to fight another day. But obviously, the Nebraska offensive line did let him down a little bit, allowing that pressure. Emmett Johnson, 18 carries for 71 yards. Ramir Johnson, 13, or Dante Dowdell, 13 for 50. Johnson, 4 for 21. And then receiving, Thomas Fidone, the Iowa native, 1 for 25. Carter Nelson, former 4-star tight end, converted to wide receiver, 2 for 11. Let's look at Iowa's team player stats. Jackson Stratton, 8 for 15. He had an absolutely brutal first half, and he was much better in the second half. Personally, guys, I think that he's in play to win the starting spot next year. Now, obviously, Iowa's going to go to the transfer portal and try and get at least one other quarterback that can compete in that room, if not somebody that will basically immediately be the day one starter if they can find a guy like that. I mean, they obviously thought Cade McNamara was going to be that guy. But Jackson Stratton is as much in the running as Brendan Sullivan is. I mean, he's 2-0 as a quarterback. He hasn't made any major mistakes. And I'm telling you guys, I look at Iowa football consistently, and I can tell you that his 2.5 games are just as good statistically, if not better, than Brendan Sullivan and Cade McNamara. Obviously, they don't wow, but they're just as good. If like I said, if not better in some ways. His QBR of 72 last week, I talked about it in my post game and in Facebook post, would be like the third or fourth highest for any Iowa quarterback this season. So, you know, I don't know what his peak is. I think he's got a lot of good intangibles. He's 6'5". And I've been saying this, he can run pretty well for a 6'5" guy. It's going to really depend on how much he can work out his passing game. That's what it's going to depend on. Caleb Johnson, 17 carries for 45 yards. It just wasn't there today, but he did make some huge plays when needed. The breakaway touchdown was just a magnificent run on his part. Sheer will. And it's hard to run when it's 7, 8 man box that they know that the defense knows that they're trying to get you the rock. I mean, it's difficult. But when Iowa needed him, he made a play. When Iowa needed the offensive line, they made a play in the second half and got that touchdown. Seth Anderson, 1 for 9. Kamari Moulton, 3 for -4. Iowa just could not run the ball today. And then receiving, 2 for 7. Actually, no, my bad. That's right. His touchdown run was a reception. That's right. And credit to Tim Lester. That's one of the notes that I wanted to say. Credit Tim Lester. I've been saying this for weeks. Caleb Johnson is the only above average offensive weapon, skilled position player that Iowa has. I don't even know that I would be willing to say that Luke Lachey is an above average guy. I do believe that Zach Ortworth and Addison Ostrengo can become those, but obviously they weren't. They're not quite there yet. You know, Luke Lachey this year, it has left a lot to be desired. Now, not all of it is on him, as he can only play with the quarterbacks that he has. But Caleb Johnson is the only guy that is an above average skilled position guy. And Tim Lester knows that, and he got him the football. There are guys that are getting there that are close to becoming an above average skilled position player. Kamari Moulton, I think, is getting there. I think Jacob Gill is close. But ultimately, it's Caleb Johnson. So credit Tim Lester for finding a way to get him the football when running the football wasn't working. He got it to him in the pass game, and Caleb Johnson made a play. two receptions for 73 yards for one touchdown. And that's it, guys. Reese Dakin had not his best day, but it was a very cold day. 40.4 a kick average. Drew Stevens was 2 for 2 with a long of 53. Iowa really, honestly, guys, is very lucky to win this game because they didn't turn Nebraska over a lot. They didn't get a ton of help from, the return game from Caden Wetchton. The run game was stifled. Uh, and it's not like one of the receivers went crazy and or the quarterback went crazy. Iowa is very lucky to have won this game. Now, they stayed the course. Iowa's defense played up to the standard that they are capable, which is elite. Now, this Nebraska offense is not the best in the world, but they're definitely not the worst. So that's pretty much it, guys. Not much more to say. My final thoughts, because it's kind of late where I'm at. Is this season a success? And I'm going to be doing a video. I don't know if I'm going to do a video after. Hold on. I don't know if I'm going to do a video after the bowl game or here in the next couple days. Uh, I'm leaning towards in the next couple days because of how unreliable the bowl game is to definitively say whether this season was a success or a failure and whether Iowa met expectations. But suffice it to say, guys, they did not. And I've been saying it all year long. They were a much better team than their record indicated. I think they are one of the best 8-4 teams ever. And I really do believe that this is going to go down as the season that could have been. Specifically, the three losses: Iowa State, Michigan State, and UCLA. All of those games were winnable games that Iowa just let let down. They just did not make it happen. It's hard to win in the Big Ten. And so I still want to give credit to Iowa for, not giving up. Even when they were out of the college football playoff contention, they still played hard and they still finished the season strong. Um, they're going to finish in the top, possibly the top five in the Big Ten standings, depending on Illinois and their game. Let me see. I'll get it pulled up on my phone here. So there's a lot of good to take away from this season, which I will discuss in the video that I am alluding to. I'm not going to say all of it right now, but there's a lot of good. Uh, Tim Lester is definitely a step up from Brian Ferentz, which is huge. That is much needed, and that is what, as Iowa fans, we were hoping for a long time, for a long time. Um, so it's ridiculous. It won't pull up. Here, hold on. Big Ten standings. So it'll depend on Illinois and their final game. They play Northwestern. If they win that game, they will finish the year 9-3. So we'll see what happens with that. But currently, Iowa is fifth behind Penn State, Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon. So, but it could be worse, guys. It could be worse. Like I said, there's a lot to like about this season, but there's definitely some things that Iowa needs to fix. They need to shore up, they need to attack the transfer portal and really round out this football roster because there are a lot of positive pieces coming back for next year. And there are some positive things that Iowa can take into next season. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Iowa wins 13-10 in a nail biter. Unbelievable. Let me know what you guys think. What do you think of Jackson Stratton? Is he a legitimate contender for QB1 moving forward? Was this season a success for Iowa? I want to hear what you guys have to say. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Let's get this channel to 2,000 subscribers. And like, comment. You guys know the drill. And last but not least, DVAP. Don't be a pussy willow. And facts are feelings because your feelings just don't matter. I love you, Hawk fans. Hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. See you guys next time. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.